Thought I would unpack the exhaust system and lay it out. They have a few marks, but they, let's see, right here AA and there's a BB there. But other than that, they don't tell you which side is which. And the only way I could really figure it out was to compare it to the Silver K. Freshening the backup lights. I have cleaned the housings. Hit these with lens polish. There's a new set of gaskets. These are from Detroit Muscle Technologies. I've had these for a while. They do a good job. Now, these two bolts here will remove the housing, except in 63, 64, you cannot remove these without removing the bumper. Equivalently, if you send your bumper out to get it chrome or repaired or whatever, you have to put your backup housings in the bumper before you put the bumper on the car. Why? Oops, did I lose you? There. There just is not enough room between the bumper and the bumper braces to get that housing out. It won't come. Can't be done. Gotta take the bumper off. Let's button it up. Oh, by the way, working back here, and look what I found on this taillight housing. A chrome error. I'll bet you nobody ever noticed that. I'll see what I have for spares. So here we have the gas tank installed. This is the 64 gas tank because they don't make gas tanks for 63. It fits just fine. And this filler neck is off of a 64. And it protrudes just about the right. So we'll get it buttoned up and move on. It's a 63 tank. Look at that vent. So, the 63 tank is vented. The 64 tank is not vented. So I'm going to want to get a vented gas cap. Rummaging around, I find this one. Let's see if she fits. Gave the rear brake drums a quick paint. I've really not seen drums this good before. This one measures 11.010. You know, 11-inch drum. Really, really good shape. And there's your other drum, looks just as good. Whole bunch of new brake spread. Just checking before I button up. It turned out this adjuster was stuck, the other side is not. And if you'll notice, she's missing that anti-rattle spring right there. I think I have spares. Let's see how far we get today on polishing and buffing these sill plates and the sill plate extensions. these sill plates out of the J. Boy, look at that. It's this edge that normally gets the corrosion. And I don't think I've ever seen something quite this good. Well, let's see how they clean up. Of course, you can't get new ones nowadays, but I'm going to try to reuse these. Well, you can see she's coming right along. I have not yet done this. And that I have. I'm going to call that done. It's not perfect, but it's way better than they were, and they're certainly usable. If it was a show car, I'd just buy new ones. And I'm going to replace the gas pedal boot, which is why the carpet is up. First time I've had the carpet up. These little rusty nuts that got dropped some time ago. This carpet, for being as old as it is in good shape. We can't reuse it, of course, and it even still has the tag on it. Chrysler 300, front auto, and a part number red Masland. Oh, look at that. Those are the impressions left by the heel pads that should be here. Two of them, the same as what they used in the H. Long gone. That's okay. The gas pedal boot still functioning. It had not cracked. There's not much life left in it. And here's the new one from Curry. I think it's part 263. And we will pop it on. Changing the speedometer cable. That's the new one from Atlas. You can see it's even just a touch longer, but that's okay. Now we'll switch the speedometer gear, which sometimes they tell you the teeth. I'm going to have to pull this hub, and I noticed that the castle nut is not threading really well. They have these file chasers or thread chasers that you can get. Happens that this is a 16 threads per inch. You rotate it and you get there's an 8 and what? A 24. So the 16 is what we want. And this does a real good job of taking the burrs and sharp edges or distortion off of the threads. You just play it around like that, and after a little bit of work and not a lot of pressure, you can easily get the castle nut to start and thread. If it threads that easily, you've got nice threads. I like to put the castle nut on backwards when I'm going to use the puller and run it down to the hub, the axle, so it will prevent the axle from distorting under the pressure of the puller. To each. No threads. 8-in-1 rethreading file. You can get these off of eBay, among many places, but they're very handy to have. So let's put the hub puller on and do the hub. So I use a 5-leg puller that puts pulling force on all of the studs. It's a 3-legged puller, and I happen to come across 3 more legs, and so now I have 5. So I will run these nuts down so they're just about flush with the stud. That's, maximum strength condition. And then I'll go through. I've got initial tension here on the shaft. See, she's loose, she's tight, she's tight, she's tight, she's loose. Tighten up these two because they're not going to do anything until they are. And put a little lubricant on the threads, and we're ready to make noise. So I have installed the missing spring. And in order to do that, I had to take the springs off and let things go out. So on reassembly, I want to be sure that that spring anchor in there is full and seated. And this thing here, this guide for the adjusting wire, that can pop out. That needs to be fully seated. See how that is? So, everybody seated, everybody happy. There's the antenna solidly mounted, and I was able to catch the antenna. That's fresh dum-dum, and the antenna is now connected to the radio. Let's tidy up the tail lights. This is the passenger side. This is the one that came off. And it's pretty good. There is some peppering. But this is one that I bought from George Kleinman many years ago. And much better. So this one is going on. We'll put this one. Now, turns out I bought this 10 years ago from George. See, there are some scratches. And I've got new lenses, so let's go put a new lens in it. It's fairly straightforward. You can see the 1, 2, 3 screws. Out she comes. So, in a gasket lens package for $63, you get a new lens. You get a foam seal, which is supposed to replace this one. And then you get a vegetable fiber gasket. Kind of a surprise. That's the new one, and that's the old one. I'm surprised this one is so much lighter, brighter than this one. And you can't put it in upside down because there is that identifying mark there. Lens kit had the new rubber bezel piece, which is good because the rubber bezel piece on the other one was not reusable. So there's the George Kleinman bezel with a new lens and the George Kleinman over here. That'll work just fine. There's the housing installed. You gotta have the neutral button in before you put the housing on because of that special latch it's got in the back. And that won't come out. So just those 2 3/8, you got your housing back on. By the way, you see that hole down there? Well, that's where the park cable has to come through. Otherwise, it won't line up and you can't get this housing back into shape. Well, see it? That's where she's got to go. So there's your housing back in. The housing is secured with 4 3/8 nuts. Let's see if I can show you one. Coming. There you go. Oops, as you might imagine, that one and that one, easy. This one, a little bit of a challenge. This one, man, you got to have Bob's bony fingers to get that nut through and started back here. And then for the final tightening, this is what I ended up using. But there ought to be a special prize for anybody who owns a J and has to work on this housing. See that? That's a that dent could have happened in shipping. Anyway, and take care of the dent before you start trying to assemble things. There we are. So I see the trunk is missing the bumpers. I got a box here that says trunk bumpers. And that'll work. So here is an original J carpet. Something you hardly ever find. And it's dirty and stained, but it's even here. We got the fill pipe cover. That's in it. Something you don't see very often. Well, we got lucky. This was a new old stock lens that I bought, and somebody had put a piece of masking tape in here with 1963 Chrysler. Must have put the masking tape on years ago because it did not want to come off. I have this thing called adhesive and decal remover. So I had to let it soak for like a day, and then I don't have a lot of fingernail, but then work it with the fingernail to get it pulled off. There were just little specks left over, so I got out my scratch remover. And then let's see, we got lucky and we were able to save this one. Working on the console. So, how do you remove these console lights? They are a pry. See the tangs? We'll go over those 2 tangs there. So, it's a little bit of work to pry it. You think, oh, I'm going to break something, I'm going to break something, I'm going to break something. But that's how they come out. And then, now you can get at the bulb, should you need to. These are available. I think I used to get them from Gore's. I imagine Query, maybe Vans, maybe Murray. Anyway, the answer is pry.